Help us reach 1,000 subscribers on our new channel Lesbian Stories. We hope you enjoy the story. Another day, another face to paint. That's what I told myself as I walked into Sweetie's ice cream parlor on a sweltering Hialeah afternoon. My name's Jane Thompson, and I've been a makeup artist in this small Florida city for longer than I care to admit. At 32, I thought I had life figured out: wake up, make people beautiful, go home, repeat. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. I was standing in line, debating between mint chocolate chip and Rocky Road when I felt it. That prickle on the back of your neck when someone's watching you. I turned, ready to give my best mind-your-own-business glare, but the words died on my lips. She was gorgeous, tall, with flowing brunette hair that caught the sunlight streaming through the shop's windows. But it wasn't just her looks that caught my attention. It was the way she carried herself, confident and self-assured in a way I'd always envied. Our eyes met, and I felt a jolt that I couldn't quite explain. She smiled, and I found myself smiling back before I could think better of it. Having trouble deciding? Her voice was rich and warm, with a hint of amusement. I laughed, surprised at how easily it came. Is it that obvious? Well, you've been staring at that menu board like it holds the secrets of the universe. She stepped closer, her green eyes twinkling. I'm Cameron, by the way, and if you're open to suggestions, the lavender honey is to die for. Jane, I replied, extending my hand without thinking. When our fingers touched, I felt that same inexplicable jolt. And lavender honey? That sounds interesting. Trust me, Cameron winked, and I felt my cheeks warm. It'll change your life. As we waited in line, chatting about ice cream flavors and the unbearable Florida heat, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Cameron was easy to talk to, her laugh infectious. By the time we reached the counter, I felt like I'd known her for years. 2 lavender honey cones, please, Cameron said to the server, pulling out her wallet. Oh, you don't have to, I started to protest, but she waved me off. My treat. Consider it payment for letting me bug you in line. We found a small table by the window, and as I took my first lick of the ice cream, I had to admit, she was right. It was incredible. So Jane, Cameron said, leaning forward slightly, what do you do when you're not contemplating life-changing ice cream decisions? I chuckled. I'm a makeup artist, nothing too exciting, just making people look their best for whatever occasion. Her eyes lit up. Are you kidding? That's amazing. I'm actually a model. I know firsthand how important good makeup artists are. The conversation flowed easily from there. We talked about our careers, our favorite spots in Hialeah, our dreams and disappointments. As the ice cream melted and the afternoon sun began to dip, I realized with a start that hours had passed. I should probably get going, I said reluctantly, gathering my things. Cameron nodded, but there was something in her eyes, a spark of something. This was fun, Jane. We should do it again sometime. She scribbled her number on a napkin and pressed it into my hand. As our fingers brushed, I felt that now familiar flutter in my chest. I told myself it was just the sugar rush from the ice cream, but deep down, I knew it was something more. Walking home, the napkin burning a hole in my pocket, I couldn't shake the feeling that my orderly life had just been thrown into beautiful chaos. And for the first time in years, I was excited to see what tomorrow might bring. Weeks passed, and despite my best efforts, I couldn't get Cameron out of my head. Her number remained saved in my phone, unused but not forgotten. I told myself it was just a friendly encounter, nothing more, but late at night, when the world was quiet, I found myself replaying our conversation, remembering the warmth of her smile and the sparkle in her eyes. It was a Tuesday when my world tilted on its axis again. I was setting up my station for a high-profile fashion show, arranging my brushes and palettes with practiced precision, when I heard a familiar laugh. My heart skipped a beat as I looked up to see Cameron walking into the prep area, her presence immediately commanding attention. Our eyes met across the room, and for a moment everything else faded away. She smiled, that same dazzling smile that had been haunting my dreams, and made her way over to me. Jane, I can't believe it's you, she said, her voice warm with genuine pleasure. When they said we had a new makeup artist, I never imagined. I laughed, trying to ignore the flutter in my stomach. Small world, huh? I guess the universe decided we needed a reunion. As we caught up, I couldn't help but notice how effortlessly beautiful she looked, even without a touch of makeup. Her brunette hair was pulled back in a messy bun, revealing the elegant line of her neck. I found myself wondering what it would be like to trail my fingers along that smooth skin. I shook my head, banishing the thought. What was wrong with me? I'd never had these kinds of feelings for a woman before. It was confusing, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. "So," Cameron said, settling into the makeup chair. "Are you ready to work your magic on me?" I swallowed hard, suddenly acutely aware of how close we were. "Ready when you are," I managed to say, proud of how steady my voice sounded. As I began applying her foundation, I tried to maintain a professional demeanor. But every brushstroke felt charged with electricity. My hands trembled slightly as I moved to her eyes, carefully blending shadows to accentuate their vibrant green. "You have beautiful eyes," I murmured, almost to myself. Cameron's lips curved into a soft smile. "Thank you," she said, her voice low and intimate in the small space between us. When it came time for her lipstick, I hesitated. Our faces were mere inches apart, and I could feel the warmth of her breath on my skin. Time seemed to slow as I carefully traced the outline of her lips, fighting the urge to let my gaze linger. "There," I said, stepping back to admire my work. "All done." Cameron turned to the mirror, her eyes widening in appreciation. "Jane, this is incredible. You really are talented." The show itself was a blur of activity and adrenaline. I watched from the sidelines as Cameron owned the runway, her confidence and grace captivating everyone in the room. As she passed by me during her final walk, our eyes met for a brief moment, and I felt that same electric connection. After the show, as I was packing up my supplies, Cameron appeared at my side. "Hey," she said, her cheeks still flushed from the excitement of the show. "A bunch of us are going out for drinks to celebrate. Want to join?" I hesitated, knowing I should probably head home, but the thought of spending more time with Cameron was too tempting to resist. "Sure," I heard myself say. "Why not?" The bar was crowded and noisy, but Cameron and I found a quiet corner booth. As we sipped our drinks, the conversation flowed easily, picking up right where we'd left off weeks ago. She told me about her journey into modeling, the challenges she'd faced, and her dreams for the future. I found myself opening up too, sharing things I'd never told anyone else. As the night wore on, I became increasingly aware of the way Cameron's knee would occasionally brush against mine under the table, sending sparks through my body. The way her eyes seemed to linger on my lips when I spoke. The way her laugh made me feel warm all over. It was well past midnight when we finally left the bar, stumbling slightly as the cool night air hit us. As we waited for our respective Ubers, Cameron turned to me, her expression suddenly serious. "I'm really glad we ran into each other again, Jane," she said softly. "There's something about you. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like there's a connection between us. Do you feel it too?" My heart pounded in my chest as I looked into her eyes. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to close the distance between us, to find out if her lips were as soft as they looked. But fear held me back. Fear of the unknown. Fear of what these feelings might mean. I think so," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the sound of the city at night. Cameron smiled, a mix of hope and understanding in her eyes. As her Uber pulled up, she leaned in and pressed a soft kiss to my cheek. "Good night, Jane," she murmured. "I hope I see you again soon." As I watched her car disappear into the night, I touched my cheek where her lips had been. My world had been turned upside down, and I had no idea what to do about it. All I knew was that I couldn't wait to see Cameron again, and that terrified me more than anything. In the days that followed, I found myself in a constant state of distraction. Cameron's face seemed to appear everywhere. In the glossy pages of magazines at the salon, on billboards I passed on my way to work, and most persistently, in my thoughts. I'd catch myself daydreaming about her laugh, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, the softness of her lips against my cheek. It was maddening and exhilarating all at once. I'd never questioned my sexuality before. I'd always been attracted to men, or at least I thought I had. But now, every certainty I'd held about myself seemed to be shifting, like sand beneath my feet. I found myself analyzing every interaction I'd ever had with a woman, wondering if I'd been blind to my own feelings all along. It was during this period of introspection that I got the call. A high-profile photographer was doing a shoot for a major fashion magazine, and they wanted me for makeup. My heart leapt when I heard Cameron's name among the list of models. I tried to tell myself it was just professional excitement, but the butterflies in my stomach told a different story. The day of the shoot arrived, and I found myself both dreading and anticipating seeing Cameron again. As I set up my station, I could feel my hands shaking slightly. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. I was a professional after all. I could handle this. But then Cameron walked in, and all my resolve crumbled. She was wearing a simple white robe, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, and she looked absolutely radiant. Our eyes met across the room, and her face lit up with a smile that made my heart skip a beat. "Jane," she said warmly, making her way over to me. "I was hoping you'd be here." I managed to smile, hoping she couldn't hear the pounding of my heart. "Hey Cameron, it's good to see you again." As I began applying her makeup, I was acutely aware of every point of contact between us. The brush of my fingers against her skin, as I blended her foundation. The way her breath hitched slightly as I leaned in close to apply her eyeliner. The curve of her lips, as I carefully painted them a deep, seductive red. Throughout the process, we chatted easily, picking up where we'd left off at the bar. Cameron told me about a trip she'd taken to the beach over the weekend, and I found myself imagining what it would be like to feel the sun on my skin and the sand between my toes, with her by my side. "You know," Cameron said softly as I was putting the finishing touches on her look, "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that night at the bar." I froze, my brush hovering in midair. "Really?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, her green eyes intense as they met mine. "Really, there's something about you, Jane. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel drawn to you in a way I've never experienced before." I swallowed hard, my heart racing. I've been thinking about you too," I admitted, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. A slow smile spread across Cameron's face, and for a moment, I thought she might kiss me right there. But then the photographer called for her, breaking the spell. "We'll talk more later," she promised, squeezing my hand before heading to the set. I watched her as she posed for the camera, her body moving with a grace and confidence that took my breath away. Every now and then, she'd catch my eye and give me a small, secret smile that made my insides melt. As the shoot went on, the tension between us seemed to grow. Each time Cameron came back for touch-ups, the air crackled with electricity. Our fingers would brush, lingering a moment too long. Our eyes would meet in the mirror, saying things we couldn't put into words. It was during one of these touch-ups, as the day was winding down, that everything changed. The studio had emptied out, with just a few crew members left packing up equipment. Cameron was sitting in my chair, and I was leaning in to fix a smudge on her lipstick. Time seemed to slow down. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. Cameron's eyes dropped to my lips, then back up to meet my gaze. The air between us felt thick, charged with possibility. And then, without conscious thought, I closed the distance between us. Our lips met, soft and hesitant at first, then with growing urgency. Cameron's hand came up to cup my face, pulling me closer. I gasped into her mouth, overwhelmed by the sensation, the rightness of it all. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, I could see my own wonder and confusion mirrored in Cameron's eyes. "Wow," she whispered, her thumb gently caressing my cheek. "Yeah," I agreed, still dazed. "Wow." We stood there for a moment, foreheads touching, neither of us quite sure what to say. It was Cameron who finally broke the silence. "I've wanted to do that for so long," she admitted, her voice soft and vulnerable. I nodded, unable to find the words to express the storm of emotions swirling inside me. Joy, fear, excitement, confusion, they all battled for dominance. "Me too," I finally managed. I've never felt this way about a woman before. It's all so new and scary and exciting?" Cameron finished for me, a small smile playing on her lips. I laughed, feeling some of the tension ease. "Yeah, exciting." As we left the studio that night, walking close enough for our hands to brush, I felt like I was standing on the edge of something monumental. My world had shifted, expanded in ways I never could have imagined. And while part of me was terrified of what this all meant, a bigger part was exhilarated by the possibilities stretching out before us. Cameron's hand found mine as we waited for our rides, our fingers intertwining naturally. "So," she said, her tone light but her eyes serious, "where do we go from here?" I took a deep breath, squeezing her hand. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I think I'd like to find out." if you're willing to be patient with me while I figure things out." Her smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. "For you, Jane, I've got all the time in the world." As I watched her drive away, my lips still tingling from our kiss, I knew that whatever happened next, my life would never be the same. And for the first time in a long time, I was ready to embrace the unknown. The weeks following our first kiss were a whirlwind of emotions. Cameron and I fell into a delicate dance of discovery, stolen moments between her photo shoots, late-night phone calls, tentative touches that spoke volumes. But beneath the excitement, I could feel the weight of my own internal struggle growing heavier with each passing day. My best friend Sarah was the first person I opened up to. We'd known each other since college, and she'd always been my confidant. I remember the night I told her about Cameron, my hands wrapped around a cup of tea that had long since gone cold. "I'm scared," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I've never felt this way about a woman before. What if this is just a phase? What if I'm just confused?" Sarah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Feelings aren't about labels, Jane. They're about connection. How does Cameron make you feel?" The truth was, Cameron made me feel more alive than I'd ever felt before. When we were together, the world seemed brighter, more vibrant. But the fear of judgment, from my family, from my colleagues, from society, was a constant undercurrent. My professional world only amplified those fears. The fashion industry could be brutal, and I'd heard enough whispered comments and cruel jokes to know how unforgiving people could be. During one particularly tense industry party, I overheard a group of photographers discussing a recent controversy involving a model who had come out as lesbian. "It's career suicide," one of them said, his voice dripping with disdain. "Nobody wants to work with someone who's going to make everything about their sexuality." The words hit me like a physical blow. I found myself shrinking into the background, suddenly desperate to become invisible. Cameron, who was mingling nearby, caught my eye and frowned, sensing something was wrong. Later that night, as we sat in a quiet corner of the venue, I finally broke down. "I'm terrified," I confessed. "What if this ruins everything I've worked for? What if people look at me differently?" Cameron's hand found mine, her touch gentle but firm. "You are so much more than what others think of you," she said softly. "Your talent, your kindness, your creativity, those things don't change because of who you love." But the doubt had taken root. I began pulling back, creating distance. Our calls became less frequent, our meetings more carefully planned. Cameron noticed, of course. She was too perceptive not to. "Talk to me," she said one evening, her green eyes searching mine. "What's going on in that beautiful head of yours?" I wanted to tell her everything, my fears, my hopes, my confusion. Instead, I found myself making excuses. Work was busy, I was tired, we should take things slow. The lie sat between us like a wall, cold and impenetrable. It all came to a head during a particularly stressful week. I was juggling multiple high-profile makeup jobs, and the pressure was overwhelming. When Cameron suggested we have dinner, I snapped. "I can't," I said, my voice sharp. "I'm busy. Not everything is about us, Cameron." The hurt in her eyes was immediate and devastating. "Is this about us, or is this about you being afraid?" The accusation hung in the air, raw and uncomfortable. For a moment, I wanted to deny everything, to push her away and retreat into the safety of my old life. But something stopped me, a spark of honesty, of vulnerability. "I'm terrified," I admitted finally, my voice breaking. "I've never felt this way before, about anyone, and I don't know what to do with these feelings." Cameron's expression softened. "We don't have to have it all figured out," she said gently. "We just have to be willing to try." As she spoke, I realized the real battle wasn't with her, or with the world. It was with myself, my fear of being truly seen, of stepping outside the comfortable boundaries I'd built around my life. The party continued around us, a blur of lights and conversations. But in that moment, it was just the two of us, two souls balanced on the precipice of something extraordinary, waiting to see which way we would fall. I didn't know it then, but this moment would change everything. After that night, something within me began to shift. It was as if I had clawed my way out of a dark tunnel into the light of a new dawn. Cameron's words resonated in my mind. "We just have to be willing to try." With that in mind, I decided to take the leap, to embrace the messy, complicated beauty of what we could create together. The following weeks were a collage of moments that painted the picture of our blossoming relationship. Cameron was a force of nature, embracing every opportunity with a contagious enthusiasm that brightened even my most mundane days. We would meet between jobs, our playful banter often dissolving into deeper conversations about our fears and dreams, relationships and aspirations. I found myself sharing details about my life I hadn't allowed myself to speak of before, the pressure I felt to succeed, my parents' traditional views, the feeling that I had to fit into a mold that didn't quite accommodate who I truly was. And each time I did, Cameron would listen intently, validating my feelings with her unwavering support and kind words. "You're not just an artist, Jane. You're an innovator. You can break the mold," she'd say, those green eyes shining with conviction. Still, the battle within me persisted. Relieving fear was one thing, but confronting the possibility of rejection or scorn from the world outside our intimate bubble was entirely another. The closer I grew to Cameron, the more vivid the risk felt. I might not just be accepting something new about myself, I might also be risking everything I had built. One evening, as we perched on the rooftop of her apartment, sipping wine and watching the city lights, I startled at the thought that leaped spontaneously from my lips. What if people know about us? What if it changes everything? The wind tugged at Cameron's hair, and she turned to me, her expression soft but resolute. "Jane, when I look at you, I see someone's heart, not their label. People will judge regardless of who you love. Choose to love fiercely. That's the true rebellion." Her words struck a chord deep within me, and I could feel the trembling resolve within me hardening. I realized that I didn't just want to exist within the confines of safety any longer. I wanted to thrive in a way that was authentic and true to myself. As the days rolled into weeks, we faced moments that tested our strength, navigating public spaces, grappling with the curious glances and hushed whispers, and staring down the occasional comment that felt like a jab. Each time we leaned on one another, our bond becoming a fortress against the outside world. It was during one of our photo shoots, an outdoor campaign for a popular lifestyle brand, that I found the courage to take another step. Cameron was glowing under the directorial lights, her confidence radiating as she posed effortlessly. I was in my zone, feeding off her energy, and basking in the truth that blossomed within my heart. As the shoot wrapped and the crew began to pack up, I saw an opportunity. Cameron's fellow models, many of whom were familiar faces in the industry, gathered around for casual chatter. I approached, heart racing, as they welcomed me with smiles. "Jane, you've been working wonders with Cameron," one of them exclaimed. I felt warmth blossom in my chest. "Thanks, she's a dream to work with." Then came the moment, the daunting question rose in the air like smoke from a fire. "So, are you two, together?" For a heartbeat, silence enveloped us. I glanced at Cameron, her eyes steady on mine, a spark of encouragement in her grin. My throat felt dry, and my insides fluttered like a frightened bird, but I took a breath, deciding that honesty was my new companion. "Yeah, we are," I said, my voice steady. Cameron's smile widened, and I could see the pride shining in her eyes. The tension around us dissipated, replaced by a wave of supportive cheers. From that moment, the floodgates seemed to open. We talked, laughed, and shared stories, and when we wrapped up for the day, I felt as though I had finally drawn back the curtain hiding who I was. As we stood side by side, heads ringing from raw laughter and affable banter, Cameron leaned in and whispered, "I'm so proud of you, Jane. That was brave." Her words felt like a balm on my spirit. I realized then that our love wasn't something that needed to be hidden or shamed, rather, it was beautiful and complex, a part of my identity that was just beginning to unfurl. The path ahead wouldn't be without its struggles, but I was growing more convinced with every passing day that I could navigate them. Together with Cameron, I could face the world outside our comfort zone. That evening, as we walked hand in hand through the bustling streets, bathed in the glow of neon lights, I felt a newfound sense of belonging wash over me. The fear inside me had been transformed into something vibrant and hopeful. "Where to next?" I asked, looking up at her. Cameron paused, a glint of mischief dancing in her eyes. "How about we create some chaos?" she suggested, her voice a teasing whisper. Despite my lingering apprehension about what lay ahead, I felt myself laughing, the sound bright and liberating. "Lead the way," I replied, feeling the swell of excitement pulse through my veins. As we stepped into the night, leaving the world behind, I knew one thing for certain. I was ready to embrace my truth, to work on creating a life that echoed my authentic self. And with Cameron by my side, I wasn't just ready, I was unstoppable. The morning sun streamed through the curtains, painting Cameron's skin in a warm golden glow. I traced lazy patterns on her arm, marveling at how natural it felt to wake up beside her. It had been months since that night we decided to create some chaos, and while our journey hadn't been without its challenges, I'd never felt more alive. Today was the day. The day I would finally come out to my family. The thought sent a shiver of anxiety through me, but Cameron's steady presence gave me strength. "You've got this," she murmured, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. "And no matter what happens, I'm here." I nodded, drawing comfort from her words. As I got ready, I thought about how far I'd come. The Jane from a year ago would have been paralyzed by fear. But now? I was nervous, yes, but also excited to finally share my true self with the people I loved. My parents' house looked the same as always, but as I walked up the familiar path, it felt like I was seeing it through new eyes. My mom answered the door, her face lighting up at the sight of me. "Jane, we weren't expecting you today. Is everything all right?" I took a deep breath. "Everything's fine, Mom. I need to talk to you and Dad about something important." The next hour was a blur of emotions, confusion, shock, and finally a tentative acceptance. My dad's brow furrowed as he tried to process the information. "So, this Cameron. She makes you happy?" I couldn't help the smile that spread across my face. "She does, Dad. More than I ever thought possible." My mom reached out, taking my hand in hers. "That's all we've ever wanted for you, sweetheart. It might take us some time to fully understand, but we love you. Nothing will ever change that." Tears pricked at my eyes as I hugged them both. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly seen by my parents. As I left their house, I felt lighter, as if a weight I'd been carrying for years had finally been lifted. I called Cameron, my voice filled with excitement as I recounted the conversation. "I'm so proud of you," she said, her voice warm with emotion. "How about we celebrate tonight? There's a big fashion event downtown. We could make our official debut as a couple." The old Jane would have hesitated, worried about what others might think, but I was done hiding. "Let's do it," I said, feeling a thrill of anticipation. Hours later, we stood hand in hand at the entrance of the glittering venue. Cameron looked stunning in a sleek black dress, her hair cascading in soft waves. I'd opted for a bold red jumpsuit, feeling confident and empowered. As we walked in, I could feel eyes turning towards us. For a moment, my old insecurities threatened to resurface. But then Cameron squeezed my hand, and I remembered who I was. Who we were together. The night was a whirlwind of introductions, conversations, and dancing. To my surprise, most people were supportive, even excited about our relationship. Those who weren't, their opinions suddenly didn't matter as much as I thought they would. As the evening wound down, we found ourselves on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights of Hialeah twinkled below us, a reminder of how far we'd come. "You know," Cameron said, turning to face me, "when I first saw you in that ice cream shop, I never imagined we'd end up here." I laughed, remembering that fateful day. "Me neither, but I'm so glad we did." She pulled me close, her forehead resting against mine. "I love you, Jane Thompson. Every beautiful, complex, amazing part of you." My heart swelled with emotion. "I love you too, Cameron Reed. Thank you for helping me find the courage to be myself." As our lips met in a tender kiss, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The journey to self-discovery hadn't been easy, but standing here, in the arms of the woman I loved, I knew it had been worth every moment. The sound of camera flashes broke us apart, and we turned to see a group of photographers capturing the moment. In the past, I might have panicked, but now? I just smiled, pulling Cameron closer. "Shall we give them something to really talk about?" I whispered, a mischievous glint in my eye. Cameron's laugh was like music. "Always," she replied, dipping me into a dramatic kiss that left both of us breathless. As the cameras clicked away, I realized that this was more than just a happy ending. It was a beautiful beginning. A beginning where I could be unapologetically myself, loved and supported by an amazing woman, and a growing circle of friends and family who accepted me for who I truly was. The road ahead might not always be smooth, but I was ready to face whatever came our way. Because now I knew the truth, love, in all its forms, was something to be celebrated, not hidden. And I intended to celebrate it loudly, proudly, and without reservation. As Cameron and I left the event, walking hand in hand into the warm Hialeah night, I felt a sense of excitement for what the future held. Whatever challenges we might face, whatever adventures lay ahead, I knew one thing for certain: together we were unstoppable.